Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Title of this course is Social Policy and Development. You know what I'll do in today's lecture, that first let me say something about this title of this course. Now our main focus will be social policy, but in this course I'll also try to explain how social policy is related to development. So, in the first lecture, what we are trying to do, first lecture I'll tell you about the coverage of this course, okay, that what are the topics I'll be discussing in this course entitled Social Policy and Development. This is the introduction to the course, okay. Now, coverage of this course. The first topic that we will be discussing is about theoretical and conceptual frame, okay. Now, first under that what we will discuss first is what is social policy. We will discuss, because as we are discussing about social policy, we should have some idea about what is social policy. So, first topic we will be covering, where we will be discussing what do we mean by social policy, okay. Now, after that, the second topic or second theme of the course will be, the scope of social policy under major theories. Now, obviously, social policy will differ from society to society. Why it will differ from society to society? Why it will vary from society to society? Because every society has different type of problems, okay. So, every society will have different type of policies, okay. But when I say scope of social policy, I am not referring to just that type of difference, there is something more to it, See what happens, type of social policy that a particular country will have will depend on the government that they have, that is there in the power, okay, or every government will subscribe to a particular ideology, or every government consciously or unconsciously will have a particular type of ideology, and the type of policy a particular government will adopt will depend on the type of ideology or type of theoretical position that particular government subscribes to, because government comes from political party majority forms, ultimately government emerges from through a contest between various political parties. So, ultimately the party that or the coalition that forms power, that has some ideology, okay. Now what type of policy that government will adopt will follow from those ideology, okay. So, here so scope of social policy will depend on this theoretical positions that a particular government subscribes to. So, here when I say scope of social policy, I am trying to point out to that what type of ideology or what type of theory a particular government subscribes to, and how a particular type of policy position follows from that type of stand. Now, here there are several several political position, but here I will be discussing three major theoretical position and some variation within that, So, here what I will do, I will discuss the major theories and what type of scope social policy will have under those major theories. Okay. So, this is what, and here this is what I will be discussing under this. So, thus we will get an idea about theoretical and conceptual frame of social policy. Okay. After having this theoretical and conceptual frame, we will come to framework of social policy, but framework of social policy of our country, of India. Particularly we will be referring to framework of social policy. First of all, in the first unit, we will be discussing major theories, defines the scope of social policy. Now, the second unit we will be particularly referring to India, and here we will be will try to explain the framework of social policy that we have in our country. Now, one problem here is that actually we do not have any single document which will give us an idea about the social policy framework of our country, you know. So, there are the social policy framework of our country is reflected in various documents, like say for example, the most important document is the Constitution of India. Now, Constitution of India will give us it gives us an idea about social policy framework that we subscribe to, but apart from Constitution of India, we have like say policy planning commission documents, or say Niti Aayog documents, okay, or other many other legislation, etc., etc. But actually it is not possible for us to go through all these documents, etc. But what we will do, we will select only some important document which will give us some idea about the policy framework of our country. Now, here we will be discussing about directive principles of state policy. We will be mainly discussing about the directive principles of state policy. In our constitution, there is one chapter called directive principles of state policy. Now, directive principles of state policy, straight away directly it it tells the state that what type of policy state should formulate. So, that is why we will look into this particular document, and I will see what type of idea we get about what directives our constitution gives to the policy maker, that what type of policy they should follow. So, that will give some idea about framework of social policy, one document. Okay. Now, apart from that, what we will do, we will look into some other documents, like for instance, policy frame may not be only confined to a particular state. See, we are a member of the international body called United Nations. Okay. So, now United Nations, very interestingly, they play a very important role about giving some direction to the states or member states, the type of policy they should formulate. Okay. So, now one such important document is Millennium Development Goals. Now, what happened when we enter to the new millennium, that time all the member states of United Nations, they met and they arrived at, through discussions and seminars, they arrived at, or they identified certain goals which every state, every member state of United Nations should try to adopt or try to follow. Now, India as a member of United Nations, obviously India also subscribes to that goal that way. So, Millennium Development Goal is one document which will give us some idea about the type of social policy goals that we are trying to follow, apart from whatever policy goals that we have assigned for ourselves, where our policy goals are also influenced or determined by this Millennium Development Goal. But apart from now Millennium Development Goal, actually all these states were supposed to implement the Millennium Development Goal by the year 2015. Now, so till 2015, all the member states of UN were trying to implement those Millennium Development Goals, but after that United Nations adopted what is called Sustainable Development Goals. Okay. Now, after that, after 2015, now it has been decided by the year 2030, all the member states should try to adopt or try to implement sustainable development goals. So, sustainable development goals. So what has happened? What is happening that policy making of all the member states of the UN is being influenced by the sustainable development goals. So that is also another important document which will give us some idea about the framework of social policy in our country. So one is the directive principles of state policy, that we will look into that, what it says about social policy, what type of social policy state should formulate, and then this and other two important document is one is Millennium Development Goals and another is Sustainable Development Goals. These documents also influence our social policy goals. Okay. So, we will be talking about, of course, there are many other sources, but these are important documents. So, we will be discussing about these two documents to get an idea about social policy framework of our country. Okay. Apart from these two, there is another very important event that has happened in our country. You know, in the year 1990, we have adopted a major change in our policy. In the when we got independence from 1947 or after that from 1950 onwards, that time we have said that we will try to set up or establish a socialistic pattern of society in our country. Okay? And accordingly, all our policies were influenced by this idea of socialistic pattern of society, and that was one of the guiding principles which we were following more or less to in framing the social policy of our country. But then with that policy, when we are following this policy, lot of problems in our economy we faced. Apart from that, lot of international changes happened in the international arena, like there is a collapse of Soviet Union, etc., which was one model we are trying to follow. Now because of those things and many other issues, by the year 1990, there is a major shift in the economic policy in our country, and we started following what we call new economic policy, or we started following the path of liberalization, globalization, liberalization, privatization. All this started from the year 1990 specifically, and also this process started a little before that. Now, this is something very major change in the policy of our framework of our country. Something like that did not happen earlier. This was a major shift. A country which was subscribed to socialistic pattern of society, from that we started moving to a liberal economy or a pro-capitalist economy, and this has happened not only in India, many other countries this trend has happened. So this is a major major change. So this is another important event. So we will be discussing this also here to get an idea about the framework of social policy in our country. So directive principles of state policy, then Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and then liberalization. These three important event or framework or policy directives we will discuss, which will give us some idea about the framework of social policy in our country. Okay, after that we will come to the prevailing situation in next unit will be about the prevailing situation in our country. Okay, so these are the policy framework. Okay, now this policy framework, but with this policy framework we are trying to formulate social policy in our country. Okay, now the type of social policy that we will frame in our country depend on what type of social developmental situation that we have in our country. That means what type of social problems that we have in our country. Okay, and what type of social development we want to achieve, or what type of problem we try to solve in our country. Or supposing we would like to have some idea that what is the social developmental situation in our country. Now here one very interesting point is that actually we cannot talk about social developmental situation of India as a whole. You know why? Because India is a vast country consisting of so many states. Okay, that is okay, but what is important that in terms of social developmental situation, it varies. Social development situation varies from state to state. There is very wide difference across the state. So we cannot talk about one social developmental situation for the entire country. When we talk about social developmental situation of our country, we have to talk about the variations that we come across. Like for example, if we take the state like Kerala, Kerala is quite advanced in terms of some of the indicators of social development, and as we will see later, Kerala's social development situation is as good as some of the European countries, developed European countries, or also United States. Okay, so Kerala is as advanced as like some of the developed countries of the world. At the same time, we have some states which are relatively backward, like say supposing the states like Bihar or state like UP. These states has to achieve lot of things in terms of social development. So there is a lot of variation. If we take Kerala at the one hand, or say some of the North Indian states, say, or Bihar or UP on the other end, there is a lot of variation in terms of some of the indicators of social development. So when we try to get an idea of prevailing situation in social development, we have to talk about this inter-regional variation in social development. So here in this particular topic, we will be discussing about this inter-regional variation in social development across the state in our country. Okay, and apart from that, that is also not enough. We also compare this variation or this social development situation with some other countries of the world. Then we will be able to understand where we stand. That means, as I mentioned, that Kerala is as good as some of the developed countries of the world in terms of some of the social developmental indicators. So that is why we will be able to understand this when we compare with international scenario. Or say for example, if we look at if UP were a separate state, it would have been maybe some other states like some of the African countries, in terms of social development situation, some of the African countries which have faced lot of problem, they face famine, etc., etc. So because of that, if for getting a proper idea or better idea about social development situation, we'll also look at this intra-regional scenario, or we'll look at this comparative picture, so that we have some idea about social developmental situation in India, where we stand, how it varies from across the state and where do we stand, where the states stand if we compare with some other countries of the world. Okay. So, this is one topic that we will be covering. After that, we will be focusing on three major areas. One is health, health, education and poverty. These are the most important areas in social development. So, we will be looking at some aspects of health situation in our country, so will be it is not possible to cover all, but we will be discussing on health and some important aspect of health situation in our country. Then we will move to education. Here we will just look at in terms of elementary education, how is India doing in terms of elementary education. So, we will be discussing mainly about that. And then in terms of poverty situation, we will see in poverty situation where do we stand, and what type of policies we have. So, while discussing this prevailing scenario or prevailing situation, what we'll be discussing the type of social problem that we have, type of social policies that we have framed in these areas, and how we are doing in these areas. Okay. This is what we will be discussing in this particular unit. After that, actually we will be agencies for social development. Okay. Now, one would say when we talk about social development, we talk about government. We know who frames policy for social development. It is the government, So, social problem, it is a government whose task is to solve the social problem. So, particularly when in social policy, when we discuss any policy, obviously we think of the government, that government will frame policies and government will implement policies. That is what we will be discussing. Obviously, we will be looking at and when we will be discussing about health, education, poverty, all these areas, we will be discussing role of government in these areas. Particularly what type of policy government has taken, how those policies have been implemented, and what is happening, where we stand today. So, main agency here is government. Okay. But apart from government, there is another agency which plays very important role, which is NGOs. Apart from government, NGOs also play a role, of course a very limited role, in solving some of our social problems. So, we will be looking at obviously mainly role of government, and then we will be looking at role of NGOs in solving the social problem. Okay. Very briefly we will discuss this too, but apart from that, I would particularly like to discuss about another agency about which usually we do not discuss in social policy. We do not mention in our discussion about social policy. I will be particularly discussing about role of business. Business also play a very important role in solving social problem. When I say business, here as I'll elaborate, I am not referring only to profit maximizing business. What I am suggesting that there are some models of business which I call benevolent business. Those business models also play a very important role in solving some of the social problems. So, apart from government and NGOs, we will also look at the role of business, how business try to solve social problem. Okay. So, these are the three agencies about which we will discuss what role they play and how they try to solve our social problem. Then we will be concluding our discussion, concluding the coverage of the course with a discussion on goals of development, or what is development. Ultimately when we talk about social policy, or when we talk about social development, we are talking about overall development of the country. Okay. We are talking about development. Okay. When we are talking about social policy, social policies are aimed at a particular type of idea about development. Now, what do we mean by development? What are the goals of development? It is not, as we will discuss, it is not always very clear. Okay, when you say development, what is development? What type of goals we are talking about? So we will conclude our discussion of this course with a discussion on goals of social development and what is social development. With that, we will conclude our discussion for this course. Now, we will start our first topic, which is what is social development. As we are discussing about social development, first we must have social policy. First thing is what is social policy. Now, what is policy? When you talk about policy, when you say we are discussing what is social policy, okay, and in that, now let us now elaborate. When you say policy, what do we mean by policy? Policy refers to the principles that govern action directed towards given ends. Okay, so I repeat, policy means principles that govern action directed towards given ends. Okay, now let us give some illustration taking a policy and elaborate that what when you say policy, what do we mean by policy. Like let us take a policy like midday meal program. As you all know that in our country we have a program called midday meal program, where school children are provided a meal in the school. Those who attend school, they are provided a midday meal. This is one of the largest lunch program anywhere in the world. Okay, so this is a very important policy, important social policy that we have formulated and we implement in most of the states in our country. Okay, now let us first discuss what if we take just the policy of social policy of midday meal. Okay, now we said that policy means principles. Now what principles principles that govern action directed towards given end. Now what are the principles behind midday meal? First principle is that we as a policy makers thought that every children should attend school. That means we believe in a principle of universal education. Okay, now that is the first principle. Okay, so we thought that every children must get enrolled in the school. Now what is the problem we had? Why children were not getting in? What happened that in our country many children, particularly among the poorer family, were not attending school. Enrollment in the school was a major problem. Okay, but our policy or principle that we have, we thought the right principle is that education for everybody. Okay, now when we studied, we found why children do not come to the school. There are several reasons. One reason is that often parents may depend on the child labor, or parents may depend on the children labor for earning. So they may not want to send their children to the school. That is one reason why children did not come to the school. Now it was thought that if the children are provided a meal, then the parents, poorer parents, need not worry about how to feed the children. So then they may be encouraged to send their children to the school. So that is why it was thought that for enrollment, for increasing or encouraging parents to enroll their children to the school, we should have this type of program like midday meal. Okay, that is one. So first we thought that everybody should be enrolled in the school, and for implementing that principles, we thought of some action, some policy that by providing a meal to the children in the school, we should be able to bring them to the school. Okay, that is one issue, one principle. Another principle was that in our country, majority of the children, almost more than 50% children suffer from malnutrition. Why they suffer from malnutrition? Because they do not get enough nutritious food. That is why they suffer from malnutrition. And we thought that is not correct. Everybody should get nutritious food. Every children should get nutritious food. Nobody should suffer from malnutrition. So this is also another second principle. So we thought, how can we solve this problem? If the children were provided a nutritious food, at least a meal in the school, then not only they will come to the school, which will fulfill the goal of enrolling them in the school, that will also save them from suffering from malnutrition. Okay, so the two principles were there behind this policy. One was universal education, universal enrollment. Another is no children should suffer from malnutrition. So these are the, so first of all, the policy, the principles behind this policy was these two, that universal education and nobody should suffer from malnutrition. This is the principles. Okay. Now for these principles, what was the end of this principle? Obviously the end of these principles, the goal of this principle was to get an universal education and save all the children from suffering from malnutrition. Now so this is the principles and this is the goal. Okay. Now what is the action? The action was that we had to arrange for providing a meal to these students in the primary schools, and some places even to the upper primary schools also. So that means we had to, under the policy, we had to make an arrangement so that a meal is cooked in the school. Either school arranges for this, or school may outsource this to some self-help groups, or school may ask some NGO to provide midday meal and they will pay. So government will have to allocate a grant for that for each children in the school, and that should be conditional, that only when children attend school they will be given this meal, etc., etc. So government has to allot a fund for this and make provisions that meal should be cooked in the school and children should be provided with that meal. Okay. So that means firstly we have principles of universal education and principles of nobody should suffer from malnutrition, and for meeting those ends we had to take some action. The action involved providing a cooked meal in the schools. Okay. So you see, the policy means principles that govern action directed towards ends, particular end. Now obviously policy denotes action. What is action? Which I just now mentioned. Action means in terms of allocating some fund to the schools for midday meal and making some arrangement so that the meal is provided to the children, and this should be a nutritious, this meal should be nutritious, and there should be some inspection on that, so that we ensure that they get a nutritious food. So this is the action. And what type of change we are trying to achieve? we are trying to achieve two type of changes. One is there should not be there should be enrollment of the children to the school to the extent possible. That is one thing, and the children should not suffer from malnutrition. So we assume that, and there are some studies which has proved that because of this program, obviously enrollment has increased. Obviously encourage. Earlier we have a problem of enrollment in the school. Now we do not have this problem of almost 90, more than 90% enrollment in the schools that we have. Okay, so this change we could achieve through this. Okay, and also there are studies which have shown that nutritional status of the children has improved. Particularly it has been seen for the tribal children, though the type of meal that they get in the school, that meal is nutritious, much more nutritious than the type of meal that they get at the home. So there is a improvement in terms of nutrition, particularly among the marginalized section of our society, the children, those who come from marginalized section. Okay, so so you see, the concept of policy is only meaningful if we believe that we can affect change. Now why we adopted midday meal program? We adopted midday meal program because we believed that we can bring a particular type of change, and actually we have been successful in bringing that type of change in terms of enrollment in the school and in terms of nutritional improvement among the children. Okay, so this change we could adopt, we could achieve. Of course, here I would like to mention there's some other problem which we did not realize earlier. Now we thought that if children are enrolled in the school, they will learn. Okay, but later on we have found in some studies that those children are coming to the school, it is not always they are learning. So it has been found that someone who is in maybe in standard 4, he or she may not be able to solve a math problem or a reading assignment which is appropriate for say class 1. Okay, so this is so now we have realized that what we need is actually quality of input that is given in the school, etc. But that we did not realize earlier. We thought that if children come to the school, they will learn, and we achieve that enrollment. We solve the problem of enrollment. But now we are facing another problem. That we found that those children are coming to the school, it is not that always they are learning. But anyway, one step, but actually at least enrollment and improvement in nutrition that we have achieved. Now why we adopted this midday meal program? Because we thought we can bring some change, okay, affect some change, and we could bring this change. Now actually because we believe that we could change the situation, we frame a policy. Now for instance, we do not have a policy about weather. Why we do not have a policy regarding weather? Like because we know there we cannot do anything. Like supposing it is not raining this summer, there is less rain or drought situation. No, but we cannot take a policy so that there will be more rainfall, increasing rainfall. We cannot do anything regarding. So for weather we do not have any policy, but we have for society we have we formulate policy which is called social policy, and why we formulate policy? Because we assume that we can affect some change through this policy, as I have explained with the example of midday meal, how we are able to bring some change through the policy, and that is what is one of the purpose of having a policy. The word policy is used in action oriented and problem oriented sense. When you talk about policy, what we refer to an action. What is the action? As I have mentioned, that action, when we said policy, what is the action? Now in the midday meal scheme, action is arranging for a meal for the children. That is the action. Okay, and we are also talking about the problem. We have two problems. One was the problem of enrolling children to the school. There is the absence of enrollment of the children to the school, and there is the suffering of the children from malnutrition. These are the two problems. So in the context of this problematic situation, we have talking about an action of providing a meal to the children. So policy, the policy, when you talk policy refers to the action oriented and problem oriented stance. So thus policy means principles towards given end. It refers to some sort of action, and it implies certain change, and it is usually through policy try to solve a problem. Okay, so this is what about policy. Now, why we are calling it social policy? Why we are adding this adjective social policy? Okay, we are calling social policy because the desire is to ensure that every member of the community we desire to ensure certain minimum standards and certain opportunities to every member of the community. Like say for instance, malnutrition was not a problem for those who are better off, for middle class or upper middle class, or enrolling children to the school was not a problem for better off section of the society, or middle class or upper middle class families. Okay, now we could have been happy with that, but actually we in policies we thought that every member of the community should have a minimum level of education. At least everybody should have a primary education or elementary education. So we wanted to achieve education up to certain level for every member of the family, and we also thought of a minimum standard, like okay, at least elementary education, at least education up to class 8 or something, that everybody should have, and everybody should get, nobody should get suffer from malnutrition. Everybody should get nutritious food. Okay, so that means when we are talking about everybody, every member of the community, and when we are trying to ensure a standard, a minimum standard for entire for all the members of the society, then it becomes a social policy. Social policy, one of the why it is social policy, because we are talking about every member of the community, and we are talking about a minimum standard or a minimum certain opportunity for everybody. Okay, that is why this is social policy. It is not just a policy, it is social policy. Okay, and then actually we are also talking about some other things. Firstly we refer to welfare. Beneficent policy, policy means beneficial, something which is beneficent, something which is beneficial to the members of the society. Okay, policy is directed to provide welfare for citizen. Okay, what is policy? Policy is directed to provide welfare for citizen. When we talk about social policy, we talk about welfare. That means policy is something which will bring an welfare to the society, something will be beneficial for the society. We thought everybody, if everybody is educated and nobody everybody has a minimum level of education, or nobody suffers from malnutrition, that is beneficial to the society, and that is a welfare for the citizen. That is one objective of social policy, means welfare or something beneficial to the society. Okay. Secondly, policy is, when we talk about social policy, we are talking about economic as well as non-economic objectives. We are not talking about foreign policy. We are not talking about any other type of. When we are talking about social policy, why we are saying social? Because the policy that we are talking about, that is not only about economic aspect. It is about non-economic aspect. Like for instance, when you say, midday meal, providing a meal to the children, this is not an economic. This does not have an economic objective. The objective is that enrolling every children to the school. So this is not. This is non-economic objectives. Okay, or preventing the children to suffering from malnutrition. Okay, this is the objectives. Okay, this is also not an economic objective, non-economic, but non-economic objective. So that is why it is a social policy, social objective. We are trying to attain some social objective, but that does not mean that it does not have any economic significance. It is also economic significance in the sense that, if we do not have malnourished children, if we find that everybody in our country having some sort of education, or everybody gets food which is nobody suffers from malnutrition, everybody is healthy to an extent, then what happens? It will definitely have some positive impact on society. So we will have better manpower. Human resource will be very rich, and that would contribute to the economic development of the country. So that means we are talking about non-economic objectives, but which will also have economic significance. Okay. And third thing that we try to achieve here is some sort of redistribution from the rich to the poor. Why we are talking, like say when we are talking about midday meal program, this involves providing meal to all the children in the school. Though all those who come to the school should be provided a meal. Okay. Now, and this is one of the largest lunch program in the world. This involves a lot of resources. The state has to spend a lot of money for implementing this program. Okay. Now, where from this fund comes? Now, funding of this program happens through taxpayers' money. Now, how government is able to meet the expenses of providing midday meal to the children in the school? Now, government gets this funding by taxing those who earn an income above a certain level. So they are taxed, and from that taxpayers' money, children midday meal program are implemented. So it involves some sort of redistribution of income. So this is one of the objectives of social policy, that it involves a type of redistribution. So why social policy? Now, social policy means when we talk about every member of the society, and when you try to ensure some minimum standard for the community. Okay, and social policy involves some sort of welfare to the citizen, and social policy refers to economic as well as non-economic objectives. Okay, and it involves some sort of redistribution from rich to the poor. With this, we conclude this session. Thank you.